So, Rivka, thank you so much for being here. I'm really glad to have you here. So, I will introduce you, and then I would love for you to introduce yourself as well. Rivka is an incredibly experienced birth doula, and she helped me so much, and she helps so many women so much. And you do all these different childbirth experiences, including live births and not live births. So tell us all about you. Who are you?
I don't work as a doula anymore. I became actually traumatized from experiencing hospital births. And so now I work on facilitating women's return to birth sovereignty in all sorts of different ways. I have a podcast, I wrote a book, I speak to women every week. I get 2 or 3 phone calls from women that are wanting to transform their birth experience outside of the abusive system. Not to say that everyone wants to give birth at home surrounded by, angels and candles and all that, but trying to transform their birth experiences into a place where they're not going to feel traumatized. So it's a big job. It's a lot of fun. And I actually completely went away from the birth world. I opened a cafe with one of my sons, and that's been going for 5.5 years now. And just what happened during the shutdown in March, we had to close our cafe, and I basically meditated for a couple of months and realized that the birth world was a place that I cannot leave. I went back. During that time, I had calls from people that were wanting to give birth unassisted without anyone attending them, or they wanted me to attend them virtually. And so there's a big movement underway to regain sovereignty. So that's what I'm part of now. And I run a cafe too, if anyone wants to eat vegan, vegetarian food.
Of course. Oh my goodness. Well, I think that's a big movement too, vegan vegetarianism. Oh my goodness. But to get back to the main thing. Wow. So that's interesting you say that, because I was a labor and delivery nurse too. And the same thing, I left, I was like, this is such an abusive experience for women. Like, it didn't make sense what they were doing to these women. And it was hard to witness that. And so when you say I was traumatized, I couldn't do it anymore in the hospital system, I'm like, yeah, that's what I like completely. Wow.
I realized the day that I needed to leave. I didn't actually leave that day because I still had people calling me and wanting me to accompany them. But there was an experience that I had in a hospital. And so the woman was in bed, and she was laboring, and the doctor decided that he needed to do an internal exam. So they do this thing where they pretend to be your friend. So he was sitting on the bed next to her, and he was doing this internal. And as he was doing it, his other hand reached out to this certain drawer where I knew that they kept the amniotomy hook. So this is a plastic instrument that they use to rupture the membranes of the amniotic sac. And I mean, it's not a painful procedure. It speeds up labor. Sometimes it can be a good idea, I suppose. The only thing is, don't do something to someone if you haven't asked permission. Bottom line, like in all walks of life, never ever do something to someone else if you haven't asked permission. And I know that his hand was just going there. He hadn't even asked her. So I grabbed his arm and I said, "What are you doing?" And I realized that was the moment. Like, next thing you know, I'm going to be kicking the whole place apart, and punching someone in the face. Like, I'm sorry, but that's,
Yeah.
So I realized, time to just retire and, let someone else take over. So, yeah.
You know what? It's interesting you say that, because that's it. It's like, when did it ever become okay to go into someone's room, ask them to spread their legs, and do something to them that they didn't want?
Yeah.
It's so basic.
This is not okay.